My name is Kris Gethin, and what I aim to bring to you is inspiration, motivation from clients, everything that will allow you to evolve as a human being. Hello, everybody. My name is Kris Gethin, and welcome back to the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. It's been quite a while since I've done this podcast. I had to trim the fat there for a little while. Got very busy, very much overwhelmed. So had to trim the fat, had to put the Knowledge and Mileage podcast on the shelf for a little while. But now we're back. That's the main thing. And speaking of trimming the fat, this episode that we're starting with is going to talk about my recent retreat, 10-day vipassana retreat, because as I mentioned before, I was a little bit overwhelmed. So I needed to go there and kind of detox the brain of a lot of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and, put my hands together and hope that everything that I did within those 10 days would help me put me on the right track when I come out. So I did a little video on YouTube a couple of days ago. That was basically part one. This video is going to be, and this podcast is going to be kind of like part two, but I'm also going to talk about if you are to do a vipassana, how would you survive? So first of all, I want to address one thing. Should you do a vipassana? Should you do a silent retreat? Is it for everybody? I think everybody should do something like this at some point in their life. You know, we have physical education in schools. I think it would be very important, and it would be a great contribution if we actually, in fact, had mental education, meditation education in schools, where your school starts with like 10 minutes, 5 minutes of meditation. It finishes at the end of 5 to 10 minutes of meditation. You think about it, our brains are growing, our bodies are growing, our learning abilities are growing from a very young age. If we were able to adapt these sort of principles from a young age, the world would be a much, much better place. And people by themselves, especially if you consider the volatility of the world the last couple of years, would be able to handle conflict and things of such nature a lot better. But anyway, let's go into the vipassana. Why should you do a vipassana or a 10-day silent retreat? It doesn't have to be specifically vipassana, I guess. But there's a lot of things that I learned from there, and it taught me discipline. You know, you wake up at 4 a.m., which I generally do anyway. You wake up at 4 a.m., your meditation starts at 4:30 a.m., and you are meditating all day with some breaks intermittently until 9:30 in the evening. So it's hard work. Don't think that you're going in there and it's luxurious, you're going to get your nails done. It's hard work. You are meditating. And of course, for the first few days, your brain is just wandering everywhere. There's no way you'd be able to articulate it. There's no way you'd be able to keep a diary on where your brain goes, because it keeps going. And you bring it back with your breath or with your meditation. Focus on the sensations in your body or on your body. And you keep bringing it back. You don't get stressed. You don't get anxious. You don't get frustrated. You keep bringing it back and just observing your breath. However, it is tough work. Now, think about it. You have no phones. You have no distractions, no books, not allowed to write, not allowed to speak to anybody. So again, this enforces discipline upon you. You have no choice. You are basically in a camp where you are doing nothing but meditation. But it's okay because you have other students there. So that gives you a kind of a form of accountability. It's funny, when I was there, just seeing other people and knowing other people that had done it as well really helped me in my quest. And it's funny, the male side have a manager, the female side have a manager, and my manager was actually from Shrewsbury in the UK, and I was only in Shrewsbury about 4 months ago. So even that was kind of comforting for some reason. It really did help. So even though it is very difficult, it does enforce discipline. So if you're somebody that's lacking in a bit of discipline, you're hitting that snooze button, you're being a bit lazy, you're getting distracted, checking out people's Instagrams, blah, 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 then this is going to be for you as well. Number two, I'm going to give you about 5 tips here now, specifically on why you should do a Vipassana meditation. But you're eating clean food while you're there. You are given clean food. So you're given an array of various types of salad, vegetables. It is plant-based. Occasionally you'll have some chickpeas, you'll have some Greek yogurt, and every now and again they'll come out with a nice coconut curry soup. But they've got an array of great foods. A couple of times they did bring out a dessert, just to pre-warn you, but all made from scratch. So, and you're only eating twice a day. You're eating at 6:30 a.m. and you're eating again, I believe it was at 11 a.m. That's right, 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. So if you want to really kill your cravings and help manage your food instability, maybe you're snacking, maybe you're eating too much, you're overeating, you have no choice here. You are fasting. You're only eating 2 meals a day. You can drink tea. Obviously you have water and stuff like that. But you are fasting for the rest of the time from that 11 o'clock break. Let's say you eat until 11:30. You are not eating again until 6:30 the following day. Now, I thought I'd find that difficult because I'm a bigger person. I hold a lot of muscle mass, but it was okay. I actually liked that form of discipline. And what I really liked as well is that the food was clean, but having an empty stomach really enhanced your focus to be able to meditate a little bit better. But on top of that, it really does kind of clean you out, and it cleans your slate. So you come out with new habits or no habits. Let's say those old habits were eating the wrong foods or eating the wrong foods at the wrong times, or, eating in the middle of the night, or overeating, whatever it may be. This will actually give you the discipline not to snack and everything else that goes with the food that we're surrounded with. Number 3, it's free. A few people have asked me, how much was that retreat that you went on? It's free. So S.N. Goenka, who is the teacher of all these places, he's passed away now. He was born in 1924, I believe, and he passed away in 2013. So he had a long, vibrant life, and he was working up until his last day as well. So it goes to show he was stress-free, baby. But he came from a business background, very successful businessman, very successful business family. And when he transitioned from business and just devoted himself to this type of meditation and I guess learning about Buddhism, he said, you know what, I'm going to open this first center and it's going to be for free. This was in Mumbai. And people thought he was absolutely crazy. He said, no, people will volunteer. And if they feel that this 10 days did them justice, we can ask them to donate whatever they want. And it's worked because now they have thousands of these centers all across the world, and they work the same way. They are free. So I left a donation, quite a nice donation at the end. Well, I believe it was a nice donation because I felt like I got a lot from it, and I really appreciated what everybody did there. Everybody was there. There was about 8 or 9, maybe 10 staff, and they're all volunteering their time, every single one of them. And a lot of people that go through these Vipassana retreats, maybe they're a plumber, they're an electrician, they're a developer, and they usually turn around and go, hey, you guys really helped me out. I'll help with the extension of these buildings, or I'll give you a donation, blah, blah, blah. But if you're on the fence, you're thinking a lot of retreats out there cost thousands of dollars, which they do. Don't have to worry about it. This one is free. So there's another reason why you should do it. And then let's see. So I think that was that 3 tips? So then number 4, I've got, it heightens your senses. So this is what I noticed. When I was in there, I could hear things that I don't usually hear. My sense of hearing was very acute, like to the extent that I could hear a train in the distance, and it woke me up a couple of times at night because the trains would come through the day and night. But I could hear everything. I could hear the wind. I could hear birds a lot clearer than I had in the past, and I still do now that I'm out. Not only are those senses heightened, but your ability to focus is heightened as well, because you are focusing on your breath, on the senses, on your body, the triangular area around your nose and your upper top lip. So you are forcing your mind to focus. Usually we can't even read more than 3 or 4 pages of a book without having to write something down that we forgot or scroll on our phone, whatever. We're always distracted because our environment has been created as such. So this ability to focus really helps you when you come out. Your senses are enhanced. So when someone talks, you really listen. You're not thinking about something else. You're more focused on what that person is telling you. And obviously, if we're trying to learn, if we're trying to better ourselves, that is a great strength to come away with that you can apply into every area of your life. I even notice when I'm working out, I have more focus again on that mind-muscle connection, why I'm trying to work out. And I'm kind of a lot more in the zone of my training sessions now, as opposed to being a little bit distracted. Like, I don't even want to pick up my phone. I have my phone there just in case someone needs to call me, but I do not pick up my phone when I'm working out. I'm a lot more focused now. So your senses will be heightened. And that's what we want. You know, we want to see the journey, feel the journey, as opposed to always going from A to B. Where have I come from? Where am I going? And missing out the middle portion, which is the important bit of being present and experiencing. And number 5, it cleans your hard drive. That's how I like to put it. So you think about it, and this is probably why when I was in there, I noticed the majority of people in there were around my age or older. There were people in there that were definitely in their 60s. And I think the reason being is that we accumulate a lot of shit throughout the years, and it keeps building and building and building. And especially if we keep going back to old images, old hard drives, old thoughts, memories, and we keep bringing them up, then that's more that is taking up the space where we need for our creative abilities to be grateful, to be present, to be happy, whatever. And I think it just builds up over so many years until you just go, enough is enough. I need to do a 10-day vipassana. So it really does help clean your hard drive. That's how I like to put it. That's my analogy, where you can kind of start from scratch, and then you can start absorbing what you want and kind of dislike and get rid of what you know is toxic and poisonous in my life or in your life. So I realized when I came out, there's a few things, there's a few people, there's a few instances that are very toxic to my way of living. And it has a transcendence effect in me, in everything that I do, everything of who I am. And I need to get rid of it. I need to get out of it. You know, life is very, very short, and we need to kind of prioritize of what's important. And it's not materialistic possession. It's not money. It's not objects. It's our life and who we spend our lives with. Because if I'm toxic, then the person that's around me is going to become toxic, or they're going to get a lot of that toxicity. So it really does clean everything out. So other than obviously you're more mindful, you're there for meditation, you're there to help maybe rid yourself of a lot of the stresses, anxiety that the world does perpetrate us with. It really does help just clean everything out. And it's like a deep clean, and then you kind of start from scratch. But remember, you have a maintenance. You want to keep that house clean. You got to keep your brain clean. So you need to come out with meditation in the morning and in the evening, which can be difficult because, you know, our environment is such where, you know, you get distracted, you know, you have form of importance. You have to deal with the house, you know, your household and your responsibilities. And sometimes those things can get in the way of your meditation. And then next thing you know, you're back at square one. So it's important when you do come out that you continue with your meditation practices and your mindful practices as well. Speaking of which, I need to get a whiteboard in my office so I can keep writing down a lot of the things that come to mind, to put in that pros and cons column to see if I am a reaction, if I do react, how I failed, where my wins were, etc. Okay, so now let's move on to how to survive a 10-day Vipassana retreat, because I didn't really know what to expect. I had an idea, And there's a few things that I did well, but there's a few things that you could do where you could learn by my mistakes. So let's go into those. So number one, know that you're going to dislike it, and you're going to come up with every single excuse imaginable why you should get out. The voice of compromise will come to the forefront. The justification will come to the forefront. You know, like I remember on day 3, I was thinking, I don't need to be here. I could check into a hotel. Nobody would know. I could probably do this by myself at home. This is too simple. My educated mind is too smart for this. Blah, 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 blah. You get bored as well. You know, you get bored. And you will come up with every excuse imaginable. And I think there was a female that actually left on day 3 as well. And I can only imagine that she regretted it now, because she didn't know what was coming on day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, because there's a lot of gems in there. There's a couple of days that it did get a little bit repetitive of the teachings, but that's because it needs to get into your brain. Just as we've built bad habits, it takes a long time to get good habits in, or replace a lot of those bad habits, or have acknowledgement of those bad habits. So it takes time. So you will undoubtedly want to get out. And I spoke to a lot of people after, and they said the same thing. They were all going through this. It felt apocalyptic to a certain degree for a lot of people. So you will get that. So please go in knowing 100% that your brain will come up with a justification and a reasoning of why you shouldn't be doing it. Okay, just be prepared for that. But you need to stick it out. I guarantee you. It's only 10 days of your life, but when you're in there, it'll feel like 10 months. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It really does feel like that. But it's good. It goes to show that when you're present, you can really slow time down. Because how many of us actually go, God, we're the year gone, the last 5 years gone. We think like that because we're distracted, thinking in the past, worrying about the future, never in the present. Okay, there you're in the present. Time stands still. So be prepared for unwanted thoughts. It is weird what your brain comes up with when you're in there and you're in complete silence with zero distraction. And again, this isn't just my experience. I spoke to a lot of people at the end, and they all went through the same thing. Weird thoughts, bad things that had happened to you, really bad things. And I got very, very emotional on day 3 there, very, very emotional. And I was thinking, I don't know if I can take much more of this. Not that you're going in there to think it's going to be blissful and a walk in a park, but it was a lot more difficult because of not my surroundings, but because of my thoughts, much more difficult than I anticipated. So know that you'll get some weird thoughts, thoughts from the past, thoughts from from many, many years ago, thoughts of, maybe last week, people that have done you wrong. And you're in the past where like somebody's done you wrong, you've had an argument, and then all of a sudden you're shuttled into the future where you say, if I was to have this argument again, I would say this, I'd say that, I'd make sure that they're put in their place, blah, 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 blah. So you're forward and back. And you're just having this brain tsunami, basically, that's washing, that's just overwhelming. So be prepared for that. It will happen. Why? I don't know. I'm assuming you have these miseries that are just come to the surface, and they have to come to the surface. They have to come to the forefront in order for you to observe them, for you to get rid of them. Because since then, I really haven't thought about them. Those thoughts have not come up since, and they were a lot more frequent in my mind before I went in, but now they're not. And if any of them come up, it doesn't bother me, doesn't affect me. They're there maybe only for about 5-10 seconds. I observe them and they go away. Sangaras, I think Soenka called them in their Buddhist language, or the ancient Buddhist language. I believe that was it, which is like a misery. You have to observe it to the surface to allow it to wash away. Excuse me, let me take a drink here. Okay, so then we've got number 3 here. What I would suggest is that you start performing a lot of core work and flexibility. Improve your flexibility before going in. Because you think about it, you're sat in an upright position, a stress position. If your core is weak, you're going to feel it. Because if you're meditating from 4:30 in the morning to like 9:30 in the evening, that's a long time to be sat upright. Now, I did contact them in advance to say I do have back issues. I had my x-rays ready to show them because the left alignment of my spine is like 1.5 inches to the left in my pelvis. So I had my back supported. I was leaning against the wall, but it was still tough. It was still miserable, but it was bearable. Had I been in the middle, I don't know if I would have been able to stick it out, but I did a lot of core work, a lot of planks, a lot of ab workouts. So I would suggest that you do a lot of planks, a lot of side planks, twisting planks, a lot of Spider-Man push-ups, things like that. Weighted twists, a lot of kettlebell work would help, and it'll improve your flexibility. Because I tell you what, when you are in that cross-legged position for the duration of your meditation, and 3 hours of the meditation during the day has to be without movement whatsoever. So I believe it was the 8 o'clock meditation, the 2:30 meditation, and the 6 o'clock meditation for 1 hour each. We could not move at all. If you've got an itch on your nose, you can't itch it. If you want to shuffle because your ass has gone dead, you can't shuffle. Well, you can, but you try not to. I was pretty good at that, at just practicing the discipline. But more than anything, I just felt my muscles just tighten up. I've torn my left hamstring. I've torn my trap. I've torn my lat. Those were the muscles, and my spine, I've got a lordotic spine that's left aligned. Those were the areas that were really, really tightening up. So as soon as I finished that meditation portion, we'd have a 5-minute break, and I would just stretch as much as I humanly could. While I'm waiting to go to the toilet, I'm stretching. When I go back to my room, I'm stretching. I was stretching all the time just to get through it. I'm not the most flexible person at all. So I would suggest, as soon as you think that you're going to sign up, or let's say if you signed up and now you've been accepted, you need to stretch several times a day to improve your flexibility before going in. Now, to number 4 here is I suggest that you are very, very comfortable during that time. Fortunately, my friend and meditation instructor, Marissa Wepner, gave me a couple of long bolsters. I already had a couple of round meditation kind of seats, and I was just going to go in there with them. She's done a 10-day vipassana. She said, no, please take these. So I took 2 of them. I'm so happy that I did. So I had 2 bolsters so I could sit up high. So the lower I was down, the more uncomfortable it was. I could sit up high, kind of like a throne. And then I used those round pads to be underneath my knees to help support my knees. Because when your knees, obviously, if you've got tight adductors and your knees are out, you're in a cross-legged position, that's a lot of stress on your adductors over a duration of time. So having my knees supported was really, really helpful. And being sat up higher on 2 bolsters was much, much better for me as well. And you can obviously have like a very small, like a normal cushion to go on top of those bolsters, because the bolsters can be relatively firm after, an hour or so. So having a cushion on there as well, that's got a bit of sponge in it, will really help on your ass. So your ass doesn't go dead, and it helps with your back, helps with your adductors, just puts you in a more comfortable position, because the more comfortable you are, the better the experience of your meditation is going to be. So I suggest that you prepare yourself. A lot of the time that they do have pads, they do have bolsters, they do have cushions, but you never know. This was Intermountain a Vipassana center that I went to in Lava Hot Springs. You may go to a completely different one, and I don't know what they'd have there. So better be prepared than anything. I also had a nice soft blanket as well to go underneath my ankles. So again, in that cross-legged position, if you're on a hard floor, your ankles could be hurt in there. So having a nice blanket that you can fold really, really does help as well. Now, number 5, so take flasks. So if you've got flasks, like I took my caged shaker, my ice shaker, you can put coffee in there, you could put tea in there, you could put cold water in there, whatever you want. So I suggest that you have them with you. Like I carried them everywhere. When I went down to the meditation hall, I had my water with me. When I went to eat, I had my water with me. I just carried it everywhere. I also, because it was snowing and it was very, very cold, luckily, I remembered to take gloves. So because I couldn't have my hands in my pockets because I'm carrying this flask everywhere, the gloves really, really did help. Okay, so keep that in mind. Take a towel. You're going to have showers. They may have a towel there, but I didn't see any towels where I went. Remember to take a towel. Take warm socks as well. It should be pretty warm in the meditation hall. But if you've only got thin socks and you're the type of person where your extremities get cold, then you may want that. It should be okay. But obviously, I went to the one in Idaho here, which was very high up in the mountains. It was very cold, a lot of snow around us. I didn't have warm socks. So I had a very thin pair of socks and then a normal pair of socks. And I wore both of them. That helped me. And I get very, very, very dry skin on my feet. When my feet crack, I didn't have any foot cream. However, one of the volunteers there did, which really helped me out. So if you're one of those people and you're going to a climate that has very dry air, you may want to consider some foot cream or some skin cream or something like that. You'll want boots if you are going to a place that may have rain, may have snow, because you could be doing a lot of walking between your residency to the meditation hall, to the cafeteria, the canteen. It could be a lot of walking back and forth. So you want to have some boots just in case, okay? And a flashlight, because if you're starting your first meditation by 4:30, and you're finishing your last around 9:30, you're going to be going back and forth to your residence in the dark. So having a head flashlight or headlamp really, really does help. So that helps. And lastly, I cheated a little bit. I took Amino Synergy in there with me. So I had essential amino acids in my water because I know that I was fasting twice a day. I'm eating a plant-based diet. There wasn't very much protein there at all. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to signal muscle protein synthesis. So I had essential amino acids with me while I was there. I had Amino Synergy in my shake, and I'd have about 3 to 4 scoops of Amino Synergy a day. And lastly, my last tip is make sure that you go there prepared to donate. Like, you don't have to donate, but this organization does basically run on delivering a humane service, an amazing service, and it runs on donations. And without the donations, without the volunteers, there is no such thing as vipassana that can be life-changing for people, such as myself and such as for you. So please, please donate, because it's a great cause. It's phenomenal what they're doing, and I believe that the world would be in a much, much better place if this was something that was implemented. They've actually implemented this into a couple of prisons, I believe in Canada, maybe the US, I can't remember, and in India with much success. Could you imagine if we could have this sort of thing available in prisons to help like a rehab process before people go back into the community and to prevent people from going into prisons? I think something like Vipassana, like I said, it should be in schools, would be huge, but it can only expand with our donations. Again, there's no pressure. This is just these are just my tips on how you can survive, and and kind of the tips that go along with it, So anyway, so this is the first, like I said, Knowledge and Mileage podcast since probably about a year or so now. So thank you very much for joining me. This will be now a more frequent and continuous podcast that I'll be delivering. the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. And for those of you watching me on the YouTube, again, I'm going to be picking up the YouTube with a lot more frequency as well. So whether you're listening on the Knowledge and Mileage podcast, whether you're watching this video on YouTube, please do me a favor. Help me keep the lights on. Help me get this information out to a much wider audience so you can share it to people that you know. But please like, comment, subscribe, and please, please, please do give me a review. Be an honest, unbiased review, because I like your feedback. It helps me become a better person. So thank you very much, guys. My name is Kris Gethin, and I am out. Thank you ever so much for listening. My name is Kris Gethin, and I am out.